morning, and thank you for keeping it daybreak this particular morning. I know it's taken so many days into January, but allow me to tell you, Happy New Year. And I'm so excited about this particular year, the year 2024, the first show, at least for me. But last week, actually, not the whole team, QT and Roberta were here, and it was an amazing show. I was watching from the sidelines, and I will confirm something with you, by the way, Roberta. Once we start this show, one of your resolutions really okay. Yeah. But Happy New Year, guys.
Happy New Year.
To be with you once again.
It's so good to see you.
Excited about this particular year. Yeah.
The year has started.
On a high.
Yeah. No, okay. On a low for today, but like...
Yeah. Come to think of it, what we want to talk about today is not really interesting.
Yeah.
But either way, we have to. CJ, your first show as well?
Yes, it
Karibu
is.
Sana.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Good to see you.
Good to see you too.
Seems like I didn't get the memo for the black.
Shelly. Yeah?
We had to wear black today, man.
Today.
We're in mourning.
Speaking of which, that is what we want to talk about. Is love suddenly going tragic? Because just the other day, when we ushered in the new year, we received very unfortunate news of socialite starlet who was murdered in an Airbnb. It's an investigation that is still underway. The main suspect has been arrested. But we have received a similar news a few days later of another lady in her 20s that was killed under circumstances that are yet to really come to light, but in a similar establishment. And it got us asking, what is happening? Especially with this new year, we are excited and expecting things to be interesting, and then we receive this particular kind of unfortunate news. It got us thinking, and if you look at the debate around this matter that has gone on social media, and people choosing to either blame the victims or say that it was not murder, it was, I don't know. And that is why we want to talk about, and even the safety concerns when it comes to dating. And those who meet online, what are some of the things that you're supposed to be able to consider? I'm just jogging your mind on some of the issues that you're going to be discussing so that you can share with us your thoughts. But allow me bring in my panel for this conversation on board as well so that we can kickstart this right away. Roberta, always happy. I believe this year, nothing has changed about that?
Oh, I just got happier. Actually, last week, Bensu said my name from now on is Miss Furaha. Miss
Furaha.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I love it because it's true. I'm always Furaha, with a lot of Furaha. But today is very heavy. Yeah.
When you heard about this, the first time we heard about the death of Starlet, and then a few days ago, this lady who is in her 20s, her identity is yet to be made public, but the family identified her body yesterday. How did you receive it from where you are? What is in your mind as you see this trend, rising?
It's like disappointed. It's very hard for me to speak, especially since I knew Starlet personally. So to wake up and see someone trending on social media that they've been offed, it's the most shocking thing that I have been through this year. And I can only imagine what everyone else who knows her and her family and her friends are going through. It's very, very scary. But at no point did I ever hear this news and at first thought, what was she doing? Where was she? My first thought was, why would someone murder her? Who killed her? And I'm wondering why that's not the same tone we have when it comes to dealing with people being abused, people being murdered, people being offed. I'm wondering why ni wapi tumefika place yenye. Like a lot of comments yesterday on Twitter about the recent story were about advising women. And this is what always happens. Something horrible happens to a woman, then everyone is up in arms about trying to teach the woman how to protect herself better. What do you think tumekuwa tumeambiwa nini tangu tuzaliwe? That's all we hear ever since we were born. Don't sit near boys, don't talk to boys, don't walk alone, don't dress like that. We know. We're not saying that we're not going to take precaution and help ourselves, but how about we stop blaming the victim? And I don't understand why watu wanaona iyo kutupreachia hypervigilance, sio kublame victim. Tangu nizaliwe nimeambiwa how to dress, what to wear, where to go, what to do, what to engage in, where is safe, where is not safe. I don't see the boys being brought up like that. I don't see them being told, don't talk to girls, don't sit near girls. If anything, ikienda sana si tunaambiwa if that boy who's mean to you, that's the one who likes you. So we grow up in a situation where we feel like we're accustomed to a situation whereby ni kama tunajua wale watu wanatu abuse ndo wanatu like because wanatupea hiyo time na attention, and not even just in romantic relationships. So already we're very disadvantaged as women from when we're born. It's like we're just doomed from the time we come here on earth. And nobody ever starts asking questions like, who's that man? Why did he do that? Why? You know, nobody probes like the abuser.
We're not asking the real question. We're not really probing the real issue.
Yeah, and people think like it's like they've made this huge discovery where now they're teaching women. Bro, I'm almost 30. What do you think you can teach me about safety that my mom hasn't told me since I could comprehend language? Hakuna kitu sijaambiwa. Shule, church, home, kwa friends. This is all we're taught.
All right.
Take care of yourself. Sijui what? We need the conversation to shift because we have been taking care of ourselves. Unless maybe now they're telling us to stop meeting men, to stop speaking with men, to stop engaging with men. Because the men who we trust, the men who we expect to protect us. And it's not just women who are afraid of men. Men are afraid of men too. Even them, they're being murdered. But how come when this conversation begins, it's ati, sijui girls, sijui, all of us are scared. Right. So let's just stand with each other to condemn the bad that is happening instead of blaming the victims.
Cutie, I also want to hear your thoughts about what you think about this whole thing, if you combine the two incidents. And it's not the only cases we've had. We've had cases such as this before, happening in different circumstances. I had the brother of the late, speak, Pastor Kanyari, and what stood out for me, what he said, that, the sister met a man that she trusted and loved and thought that they could actually have a thing going. And that is actually how, she found herself in this particular situation. But from his judgment, it's just an ordinary, the way a lady would meet a man. And this happens every day. You could just meet, any lady could meet a man today and you think this is the best thing that has ever happened to me. And then the next day, your headlines. Does it concern you as a young woman?
Actually, my heart is just pounding for us to talk about this. This is a very emotional subject, but we are a reactive society, as it is, Safin. Everyone wants to react and say, what was she doing there? Why did she go to meet a stranger? Why? We are actually talking about the victim. I could be in love with someone, and that's someone that I trust. We've said, I trust this person, and anything could happen to anyone at any point. It doesn't necessarily mean because she met a stranger or whoever she met, I don't know if he was a stranger, I don't know the communication that was there, but why do we want to say, oh, she met a stranger online? People have met online and had marriage and had relationships, It's not really about he was a stranger, she let the stranger in and all that. It could happen to anyone. People are doing these things. People who have been in relationships for even 5 years and above. This is someone that you've lived with for 5 years, and they can do anything to you at that particular point. So it's not really about why the victim did what she did for that guy to actually do that. This could happen to anyone. And unless it happens to someone it happens to your sister, it happens to your niece, it happens to your mother, someone close to you, I think that is when this story might hit home. But for now, we want to be a reactive society. We are all up on social media talking about women. Why do women want this life easy? Why do women want that? That's where the conversation is going. But at the end of the day, we should be asking the real questions, the way Roberta is saying. I love how Roberta has brought that. The real question is, what is wrong with these people that attack other people? Something is wrong, Safin. Something is actually wrong with the people that are attacking people. And I don't want to say men, because even we've had stories of women actually doing these same things to men. So it's not about women or men. It's about everyone. What is wrong with this society? What is actually happening to people nowadays? We've had so many cases of murder last year, 2003. Let's not even go to the other years. Let's just take the cases of 2003. 2023. We've had so many cases in the news. Safin, every morning you wake up, you just hear, oh, a woman did what to a man did what to a man, a university lady was killed, So there's something actually wrong with our society. Okay. Something is taking place in the society. And I think the root cause of all this is we should start talking to our children. No, because if you see your child has done something to someone, you'll be like, that's not my child. You'll be protective and be like, my child goes to church, my child has been doing this, you know. So the question is, what is really going on with our society? We should know. We should talk to our children. Yeah. We should learn how to protect our children and actually sit down with them and know what's going on through their heads. Because honestly, something is wrong. Something is definitely wrong.
CJ, what is wrong with our society?
You say it's crazy. I think even the focus around the conversation has shifted more to where the things are happening rather than to who is doing what. Mm-hmm. I don't think that anybody sets up an establishment so that anybody will come and kill anybody there. Mm-hmm. We are being unfair to people who are trying to earn a living as well when they set up that, because then eventually we will say don't use Ubers, because there are also people, before this person gets to that establishment, they've used the cab. So did the cab person abate what they were doing? There's just a lot of things. We don't like facing issues, so that's what's wrong with us. Mm-hmm. We don't like addressing the real issues. We want to always blame something else. So when you have somebody around your life that you know, like, you know, Kitty's talking about our children. You see your kids doing something, we want to blame something else. We want to say it's the school he's in. But you can literally see that this kid is growing up either violent, abusive or something. You begin to find something else to blame. Somebody will be behaving somehow and then say it's their childhood. But they need to take responsibility, because there are also people who have grown up in difficult childhoods and they turned out right. I think that we need to start calling out people for who they are. That we cannot be a society that is always enabling people in their bad behavior. Because by the time somebody comes and does something to this person, this is not the first place they're doing this thing. They probably have a history. It may not be as intense, but you'll find that they did something to somebody else. They treated somebody in a certain way. But because we will either make it easy for them or blame something else, they keep on growing in boldness. You don't just wake up and pick a knife. You don't do that. You don't just wake up and kill somebody. That's too bold. But they will have gotten away with so many things because people around will blame something else. Oh, he's just going through something, or she's going through something. I think we need to be a bit more, you know, we need to be a bit more intentional about dealing with the real issues, so that we are not dealing with sideshows. Yeah. So today, for example, we'll put up rules and regulations. I've seen the county of Kisumu has done that on B&Bs. But so what do you do with River Yala, where bodies used to be found? Are you going to dry up the river? Are you going to move the river? What do you do with the forests where people have been murdered and put? We're not getting into the issue of how are we dealing with the issues of mental wellness? How are we dealing with what Roberta was saying? And I was at a certain forum the other day. I said, we're not talking to the boys as well. We're not talking to them. Why would the woman have to protect herself? She's not even built to protect herself. Why should she feel unsafe everywhere? With the uncles, with the brothers, with the fathers, with the stepdads, with the neighbors. Why should we make it look like it's okay for girls to feel unsafe? And then we will blame them. Why would we imagine that every time a lady has gone out with a man somewhere, it's because she wanted a higher life, that she wanted the money? What about the women who have had the money, who have been injured or hurt or something? We're not dealing with the human needs. Some of them just look for validation, and actually this person comes through as somebody who will love them and connect with them. And that's what they're looking for. If you ask them, it may not even be the money. But we make assumptions. The reason is we sit from this other side and look for something to blame. We don't want to look at the mirror. And we don't even want to see in ourselves abusers as well. That will make us, the thing that will make me feel Roberta is responsible for what she's gone through is because I resonate with the abuser. So I think if she did that to me, I would do the same thing to her. We're just coming out as a society of people who are also abusive, who do not have the opportunity, who would do the same thing if we were confronted with the same situation.
Roberta, you talked about, you know, there is no need to, this is not the time, for lack of a better term, to lecture ladies on their safety, and what they need to do. if you look at, you know, the conversation that has gone with regards to this incident, the first one, many were raising their arguments based on the fact that they met online. You know, the victim should have done enough groundwork and all that. Concerns about online dating. Do you think that is something that is justifiable, or is online dating something that should be an issue of concern also when it comes to really getting to know the person that you're going to meet before you agree to meet them physically at a private place?
You know, it's just like CJ said, like we're focusing on the wrong things. Yeah. We're focusing, okay, what about Dr. Langat, who was murdered just this week? So do we shut down hospitals as well? What about the grannies who are in their 80s and they're being raped? What about the 15-year-old kids? Usikimie by Njeri Migui posts all these things about women every single day. Women being murdered, women being killed, women in 20-year relationships, women in 20-year marriages, women who met someone yesterday in church, women who have grown up with their childhood lover for 30 years. So, as in, tuna discuss nini? Saizi tuko in the digital age. Unfortunately or fortunately, that's how people are able to set up meetups. People are meeting online. That's how people are ending up dating, getting married, forming relationships, making businesses. It's just that his situation near romantic needs or something. What about someone who has an online business and they want to meet up with someone about something that they're selling? What about them? The conversation can easily be switched into alikuwa na meet nae kwa nini? Alikuwa kwa sababu thinking yetu iko skewed. Tuna focus on the wrong things. Tunafa to focus on calling out these people who are doing these things. And you could, if you see the conversation online, even these people, I'm sorry, I'm going to go off on the men, but I'm just so angry today. When you see this conversation going on online, on X, you'll see even the good men are quiet. They're not standing up to say, why. They're also asking the women at why did you dress like, bro, you people don't speak up when your friends are rapists. You people absolve yourself and say, you know, me, he's never done that to me, so I can't really speak on that. Hata venye hiyo story ya huyo Matara ilitokea, watu walikuwa wanasema wanamjua, ati mse tulikuwa naye high school, tulikuwa naye. Utaona hizo comments and people are like, he used to do this, he used to do this. CJ said, these things are inbuilt, they're habit, they're things
there's a history.
Yeah, there's always a history. And then some people ask questions like, ati, why didn't you report? Ni lini umesikia mtu ameenda kwa police station kureport kesi yenye ina involve femicide na akasikizwa? Literally, I'm telling you guys, when you go on Njeri Migui's page, hiyo usikimie, and you just check, stories are pending. Mpaka our say wako so helpless, they're letting go of those cases because they've dragged on for 5 years. Mpaka their abusers have been reintegrated into society. Wameachiliwa, hakuna mtu ana follow up, hakuna mtu anajali. We just let it happen because, and in most societies, wife beating, especially in Africa, unfortunately, wife beating is taken as a common thing. Ni kama kufundisha adabu. And once that thing is in your head that it's okay to abuse a woman in any way, kwani wife beating, how does it end? One day someone hits you and you never wake up again. It's not like they might have the intent to kill you. It's just that they hit you all the time. One time they're going to hit you wrong and you'll not wake up from that. So the conversation is not about where these people are meeting, where they're going, what they're doing, or why they're even meeting. The conversation is supposed to be, men, stop killing women. Simple. We need the men to join us in this. Like I said, even the men are scared of men. Ukiuliza mwanaume mbona wewe pia utembee usiku saa hizo? Sisi tunajua already. Sisi we've known ever since we were born. It's impossible to walk outside alone at 7:07. The boys are always out. They can walk outside even at midnight. But now if you ask a man, mbona huwezi tembea saa hizo? Atakwambia pia anaogopa. So kama hao wanaogopa, sisi ni nani tusiogope? Why can't they jump ship with us, support us, come to us and listen? We're all complaining about the same thing. Men, stop killing women. It's not a gender war. It's not some indiscrepancy that we cannot tell for sure. Siko sure nani wanauliwa sana. Every other day, there's a story about a woman, a child, or even a man being murdered by men. Si ati tuko confused, tunaiona, iko hapo kila siku.
Yeah, but also just to, emphasize on something that QT said, in certain cases, it's actually the other way around. You'd find that some women are actually perpetrators in some of these incidents. So it's both ways. Something that is wrong, regardless of who is doing it. Let's stop mixing issues and discussing the wrong, issues.
You know what I'd have to say about that. Most times when people bring up femicide, when we're talking about women, femicide is a murdering, killing of women for being women. Every time we bring up femicide, there's always someone coming up with the even men. Right now, the topic at hand that we're discussing right now is femicide. I'd like for people to bring up the murdering of men on their own, independently, not to try and shut us up when we're speaking about women. It's not a fight, it's not an argument about who's killed more, ama who kills the most, ama kwani tunaargue nani anafanyanga the worst? Kila kitu ni wrong. Sa zile conversation ya men being murdered equal. Please, men, stand up even you. Don't sit and keep quiet. I see the comments yesterday when people were talking about this 20-year-old lady. The comments on X were, even men are murdered every day, nobody talks about it. Who do you want to talk about it? It's your job as a man to stand up and speak out on it. Tokea kwa streets, venye sisi utokea. Tokea kwa hizo police station, venye sisi utokea. Tokea saizi, speak about it. Talk to men. Talk. Use your voice. Stop waiting for when there's a femicide issue and then now you want to say, even men. Bro, we're not competing about who kills who more. There's an issue that we need to get down to. When we're discussing femicide, we're discussing femicide. I'm not saying we can't discuss your issues about men being murdered as well. It's just that I need for people to stop trying to make it an argument. It's like we're arguing on who's better than who. All of us are suffering. So let's just tell men to stop killing people.
All right,
simple.
Black and white. Baka nasikia kuleta.
Baka nasikia joto.
Emotion. Deep, by the way, what you're talking about. It's emotive. By the way, when you hear those stories, and this could be your sister, this could be your, it could be your mother, it could be your aunt, it could be somebody, your friend, somebody that you know. So today, you may just relate with it as a statistic somewhere, but the next thing you know, it's somebody you know. So let's talk about the real issues. And
let me say, sorry. Do we have to say that point for, it can be your mother, it can be your sister? I know it comes out really easily, but dude, unataka justification gani ya death? Lazima urelate ndio iku affect. Hauwezi tuona ni wrong kuwa men na women. Hauwezi tuona ni wrong, even if it's not someone you know, for whatever reason they were doing, whether they were outside doing what, for whatever reason, there is no justification.
All right. QT, there is also this argument that, you know, you should have seen the red flags. You should have known. Especially now that investigations are being done and issues are emerging about, you know, there's a history. Women are coming out to say, oh, even me, I was once a victim of this person. There's this thing he did to me. He seems like somebody who has like a history of such things. And people are saying, ladies, you should know this person you're going to meet. You should do enough groundwork. Do they come like branded like I'm a murderer or I'm a thief, I'm a cheat? You know, I mean, do they come branded like that? Do you know at the first instance?
You know, I love that question because I remember when we talked about red flags in relationships back then. You remember that conversation? So if I am dating someone, let's first of all do the normal dating, the ones that they want to call normal dating. You know, this online dating now is becoming an issue. So let's talk about the normal, quote unquote, normal dating. I've met someone, we're in love, we get married, we are 5 years into the relationship. Women also come out and say, or a man can come out and say, in this relationship, this woman has been abusing me, this man has been abusing me. So what about that? What about that, Safin? So if we want to talk about online dating and say, oh, she should have known that online dating is not safe, what about the relationships that people are staying for 10 years, but they're still being abused? You see, people just want to just rub it off and say, okay, now we're talking about online dating. What about the people that are in abusive relationships and they're coming out years later to actually say, actually, I'm walking away from this relationship? What about the people that are being murdered by their husbands, by their wives? You're already in a relationship with someone and you're trusting them and they can still harm you, Safin. You get? So it's not really about the online dating, the safeties, about online. I agree. At some point, you have to be really careful. You're meeting a stranger. But even when you're dating kwa ground, it's still the same issue. You're meeting a stranger. Umse mwenye ako kwa ground, you've met at a party, you've met at an office meeting, you've met at a boardroom. They're also a stranger, so you don't really know this person. And they could be, you know, psychologically not well. So it's not about really online dating. It's about, I go back again to society, the children that we are bringing up. We are bringing up people that lock themselves in the room. So you haven't seen your child in a week. Something is terribly wrong with that situation. You've not been able to have a conversation with your child because you're busy, and the child is busy. What do you mean your child is busy? They've locked themselves. Oh, it's okay. He stays in the room. He loves being locked up in the room. What is your child doing in that locked up room? What are they consuming? What are they watching? You see, sometimes, Safin, whatever our children are consuming, this ends up reflecting in what they do in life. Later on in life, you'll find someone, a serial killer. What do you mean a serial killer? Even you yourself, you might be shocked. My child is a serial killer. What are you guys talking about? This is something that is built up. It comes up with time. It's not the way CJ said, you just don't wake up and pick a knife and kill someone. This is something that builds up in you, slowly by slowly. It's something that you either consume or you either pick it up from someone else, the people that you're hanging out with. There's something terribly wrong with society. So, Safin, it goes back to you meeting a stranger. This could happen to anyone. And I keep saying, it's not about the online dating. These issues are not about online dating, Safin. You could meet a stranger, fall in love with them, get married to them. Na umemmeet kwa ground, na ingori bado ikupate. Unaget? So it's not really about ati, she should have seen the red flags, she should have known. How are you supposed to know that someone is a murderer or a killer or a cheater for that matter? You don't know these things until you get to the ground. Uanze kudetu mse ndo takamujue wa. By the way, mse anakuanga hivi, hata wewe mwenyewe unakuaga surprise. Hasira ya mtu inakuaga mbaya tena sana na sifai kufanya hivi. I loved what she was talking about, like sometimes when you go to report these things, you might even report it to a senior, not even necessarily to the police station. I might go and tell someone, by the way, I don't like the way this person is, or this person abused me. It always goes back to, what were you wearing? What did you do to trigger this person? So this conversation is going back to, what did this lady want? Was it about the money? Did she want a cheap life? Why did she go to that Airbnb? It's not about all that. It's not about the Airbnb. This could happen in your own home, living with that person, and it would happen.
It is murder,
place.
it is a crime.
It is a crime. At the end of the day, it's a crime, yes.
All right. CJ, what do you think with this debate about safety and, you know, what somebody needs to, I mean, is that something that should even be discussed or be looked at?
You know, it's complex because it has so many dynamics. Several years ago, there was a case that drew in Israel, Rwanda, and South Africa into a diplomatic row because there was this Rwandese opposition leader who was in South Africa, in the hotel that all presidents across the globe come to, including the former President Barack Obama had stayed there. And he was killed in his room, and nobody could point out who actually did it. The hotel is owned by the Jews, so that's something that the Israelis were very concerned about. It's big business for them. It's Jewish investment in South Africa. So you had this diplomatic row between South Africa and Israel and Rwanda at the same time. So Israel would want to know how the hotel was breached, the security issues, South Africa, are you going to get this guy? The rumor was that whoever killed this person was sent by the president of Rwanda. That's a very complex situation. The thing is that when people are built and bent on doing certain things, they will do them.
They'll do it anyway.
They will do them in what you would think is the safest of situations. We just need to get people to bring the value of life. I still do not understand. You see, what brings you to the point of even thinking, leave alone taking, even thinking of taking up a knife? You've been talking with this person. Whatever disagreement you have, whatever issue there may have been, why not walk away? Why can't you just pick up your stuff and leave? Why does their life have to be the sacrifice for whatever disagreement you have? So if we're disagreeing over money, why should we end up in debt? If we're disagreeing about another relationship, if I saw a text on this person's phone and I felt like they were cheating on me, whatever it is, Why not withdraw from the situation? Why not pull yourself out of the situation that you feel is unpleasant? Walk away, go away, block the person, cut off the link, break the relationship, go and start afresh, heal your wounds. Why would you feel that when you take up a weapon, whatever it may be, or even use your hands, you are going to feel compensated for whatever situation there has been? Because this is what these people are seeking. Somebody will be upset over something, and then they're feeling like they need to feel the compensation of what they think you have done to them or not done to them, what you have denied them or given them or caused them to experience. So they've got to mete out this pain. It brings us to the point of the level of entitlement that people have. It's purely entitlement, that I run your life so much, or I own your life so much, that if you do not play by my rules, then I will decide whether you will be here or not. I'm so entitled that you cannot have another life outside of me. I'm so entitled so that your life should revolve around what I want. And we will excuse entitlement at the lowest and the simplest place. You know, talking about those red flags, I'm talking to somebody else right now about a different situation, which came before all these stories came up. Meet with somebody physically day one, exchange numbers. I'm old school. I didn't know people exchange numbers on day one. and they told me, well, you know, nowadays people just give numbers. I was like, whoa.
You had to work for it.
Yeah. So I said, okay, that's fine. But then now, what this gentleman started doing, he started calling every day and at a particular point, particular time. So he'll call in the evening. So analyzing that, I say, you know, I think this guy is trying to see whether there's somebody else in your life, because his phone calls are timed at a certain particular point and they're late. And the lady says, I don't like calling. I prefer texting. But when she will say, kindly text, he insists to call. They've not started anything yet. So now he's getting a bit frustrated that she seems busy. And she's like, I want to know what you do. Then she says, as who? That as your friend. They've not even got into the place of friendship. I say, you see, this, we're already going towards control and abuse. You're not even in this person's life. You already feel that at a particular point in their day, they have to put everything on standstill to pay attention to you. So when they come close to you and they're not able to give you that, the sense of entitlement will make you feel like you need a compensation. So I think that we are so entitled. And sometimes it comes in Safin as those things like, I spent money on you. So we feel so entitled. But how much have you spent on this person? We lose money every day. We buy cars and lose them. We put money in investments and we lose them. And we don't go and burn down the investment company. We put money in different things and we lose. We pay fees and never clear school, you know, and get out. Why is it that if I spend 5,000 on this person, they owe me their lives? Something is wrong with us. We need to break this sense of entitlement that we have, where we feel we must have our way in our own time, the way we want it. And if I sent you, see, this we used to joke about these things that, you know, I've sent you fare, but we've got to, some of those things that we bring as jokes, and then people keep on causing them to trend online, that because I've sent you fare, you must. If I send, you know, nobody can eat my fare and stuff like that. It starts very subtly, but you never know how the next person will interpret that and how they're going to apply it. So they will feel, so if I give Cutie some of my money, she owes me. She's got to go with me. It's a very complex thing. Like, it has so many aspects to it, but eventually it comes back to the person that is the perpetrator. You know, I've got a 26-year-old girl, I've got a 22-year-old girl, I've got boys, I've got girls. I'm looking at all of these things. Do I want my daughter to be afraid of the world? Do I want them to be afraid to speak? Do I want them to be afraid to talk to people? Do I want them to be afraid to meet people? I don't want that. I don't want that. They should be able to do that.
They're free to meet and
yes, and feel safe. Do I want them not to go to campus? Do I want them not to? I don't want that. We should be looking at what causes somebody to feel they want to harm somebody else, because eventually they will do it. And I think it's a sense of entitlement, a lot of sense of entitlement, and the sense that you want to compensate yourself for what you think that the other person did or did not do to you.
And I think this entitlement has been taken on another level. It has gone overboard, because who tells you that you are entitled over somebody's life? You could be entitled on other things, but maisha ya mtu, and you go to the extent of killing is one thing, but in some cases unapata mtu amekatwa. Like, you even have that time to do that. Robert, I hope that the law will be as ruthless and cruel as these perpetrators are when they are committing this act.
I just hope, I don't know, speaking about a world where women are safe at this point feels like it's some sort of utopia that might never exist. And that's really sad, because even when I speak to people, when I speak to other women, it's tuna give up, like tunajitoa tu, hatutaki kukufa, hatutaki kuumizwa, hatutaki ku go through stuff. Na iki happen, it all comes back to us. You saw when Matara's victims came out, ilianza mtu mmoja, wawili, wanne, 10, unashanga awase wamendadi ku report. So at what point, like, was the law supposed to apprehend him? At what point was he supposed to get caught? And sielewi, like, alafu bado swali tunauliza ni mbona ukwenda kwa polisi? Mbona ukuambia mtu? Mbona uku discuss? Mbona hauku open up? Mbona ulienda huko? Mbona ulivaa hivyo? I think we need to reevaluate and stop fighting each other. Stop changing this into a gender war. I'd like for people to get more educated on matters, femicide. Not even before we get to femicide, I think empathy. We need to learn empathy. We need to learn how to live with each other, how to like each other, how to be indifferent. Even if I don't like you, I don't need to kill you. I can always just walk away, like CJ said. It doesn't need to get there. And when you see, I know when these people are giving us advice about hypervigilance, they normally assume maybe we don't take extra precaution or we don't think, I promise you, our safety is all we think about every day. Even the way, things like the way I dress is informed by my fear for men. Hata kama sasa nataka kwenda supermarket, lazima ni consider ndafikaje hapo, ndenda na nduthi, nikitembea naweza pigwa ngeta. Juu mimi ni dem na niko peke yangu. Nikipanda matatu kuna mtu anaweza nishika inappropriately. Nikiingia kwa Uber, mse akidecide ku drive off aende anieke kwa kitu. You know, like, it's something we think about all day. We think about it all the time. Yesterday, my brother was telling me about, he goes running in the morning. He's recruited me, shout out to him. So yesterday he was running and tunakimbia huko ndani ya forest kwa, like, trail, kuna trees, and it's not safe. I promise I would never go there alone. But you see, I felt safer going with him because he's a man. And he told me the other day when he was running, there was another lady. And he thought she was pretty, so he wanted to start up a conversation, a genuine conversation. But, you know, in his mind as a man, he's thinking, if I run and get closer to her, then I can get her attention. But you imagine as a woman, you're running, and the man who's running behind you is trying to catch up. What comes to mind?
You're saying,
Ata kama hakukuwa idha yako, ata kama he wasn't thinking about you and he was just minding his business. Iyo impending fear iko in everything we do, even in hata kwa esto, hata kwenda sleepover na makazins wetu, hata kukaa home na maanko. Kuna hiyo thought inakwanga kila saa kwa akili. You never know what someone is thinking. And CJ said it. Someone who's out to get you, they'll get you. It doesn't matter if you have 24-hour security. They will find a slip up and they will get you. Meaning these men who are murdering people leave their houses with intent. They leave there, wherever they're coming from, whatever holes they come from, they come out knowing, today I might kill someone, or today I'm going to actually kill someone. It's something they've been doing, it's something they do, it's something they've got away with for so long, like CJ said, and that's why hata si tunashanga as ati dem kwani hakuona ama hakurealize, kwa sababu hizo ndo swali wrong tunaulizanga kila saa. We shift the blame so easily and we ask the wrong questions all the time. So hiyo fear tuko nayo daily. Yeah. Mimi nataka tu kuambia wasee, hiyo ndo reality yetu. As in, mimi kadem nikiamka, hata nikisikia kitu uko kwa sitting room ama kwa mlango,
fear.
I'll never think, oh, it might be a cat. Or, oh, my first thought is there's a man here trying to kill me all the time. Ask any woman, ask your friends, ask your mother, ask the women in your life. They will tell you it's a thing we feel every waking second of our lives. So I'd like instead of preaching to us hypervigilance, please, let's call out these behaviors that we see that changia. And there's so many signs towards people who are abusive. You'll see, and something that is horrible is that these people, hawakwangi ati rogue na horrible na mean, they're very charming, very kind. They know how to please external people. That's why you'll see people break up, you're wondering, mbona mliachana na demu yako alikuwanga mpoa? Aujui nini na happeningi saa zile, sisi hatuko, na sisi hatuoni. People put up acts, people put up faces for different things. So instead of blaming the person who's coming out openly asking, seeking for help, please help me, I'm being abused. This person made a funny comment about murder or about killing. Hizo vitu, nanajua, there is no protecting yourself that will ever keep you from a murderer. But ni kama sasa hii option ni tu tuachane na wanaume tu jifungie tu kwa keja.
Remember, nisema resolution yako ni tukule pilau.
You see, you know, the danger of that desperation, the danger of that desperation and frustration is that it swings the pendulum to the other extreme. Because then it will make people feel that for them to protect themselves, they've got to anticipate attacks, and so they become the attackers.
Yes.
That's now the danger of that, when people begin to feel helpless. You know, if you've ever seen a cat that is cornered, it becomes very vicious. And so the danger of this is generationally. The way Bobby is talking now would not be how her mother or grandmother would have talked before. Generationally, then the woman begins to feel, I'm coming for you. But what will happen to the generation after Bobby? They won't even have this conversation here.
True. And Safin, straight to
keeping guns.
So if we don't deal with it now, the next generation will say, you won't do that. Because, see, the way girls have been growing up and they say, I'll not allow anybody to do to me what was done to my mother, my grandmother's stuff. So we will be talking about it now very easily. But then these little girls who are growing up are watching, and they are listening right now and hearing that nobody will help you. You've got to protect yourself. So they begin to weaponize themselves against other people. And we will now begin to have a lot of killings on the other side, flip side, where the moment this person feels threatened, you will not even believe that her bag had a weapon, had something like that. So anything we don't deal with generationally passes and becomes even worse. And it's important for those things to be talked about now.
Now is the time.
And Safin, just to add on that, let's just, murder is murder. Crime is crime. Let's not protecting the person that is the vigilant, the person that is on the other side. Let's stop blaming the victims. What were you wearing? Why didn't you take precautions? Why didn't you do this? Why didn't you do this? And also just to call out on the law, like the law should be brutal about such incidents, whether it's a woman, whether it's a man, whoever it is that it has happened to. Murder is murder. Rape is rape, whatever case that is out there. And I think as a police or a policeman or the law, you already pledged for that when you were getting in there. So when someone comes to report that thing to you, take it seriously. Don't ask them, what did you do to provoke that person? Ulikuwa umevaje? Ulikuwa wapi? Ilikuwa saa 2 za usiku. Ulikuwa unafanya nini nje? You see? So let's just call out these behaviors. Tusinyamaze. Whether you're a man, whether you're a woman, the way Bobby said, let's all come together and fight these heinous behaviors. Because if the more we keep quiet, as CJ has said, someone is watching this and they'll be thinking about it. So let's call out these people that are doing all these bad behaviors, and let's just be together in all of this. Because if it's a war between women and men, then there's nothing we are doing to protect ourselves, or no one will win this war. Honestly, no one will win this war. So let's just come together and fight for, it's murder, it's a crime, let's all fight for that.
Call it for what it is. Let's all fight together. And we have a lot that you also have been saying and sharing with us online on our SMS platform 22422. And we also invited you to communicate with us on social media. And this is what you're saying. It's a very heavy topic that we are having this particular morning. But I believe we've shared some insights on, what we really need to be discussing at this particular point. And there's one here saying, you better say this involves all of us, and we should think of how to eliminate it on ourselves. And then why call them men? Call them murderers, because real men are not like that. All right. Oscar, you're saying blaming a victim is wrong indeed. However, meeting a person online is a new phenomenon, and men or women who are up to their wrong objectives take advantage of unprotected online dating, I believe, sites. People who attack people have found a new niche of lynching victims online. Therefore, learning and talking to children in this new digital age is necessary. Let's stop blame game and address the real issues. It is not about internet, it is the behavior of a person that we hide in the community. Right, we have one there saying there is no knowing how children will turn out, but 99% of this is caused by poor upbringing. The moral fabric is torn to the core. Okay, we say there's another one there saying nowadays it's better for that man who brings home 100 bob than this rich man who gives you everything. Okay. Some are getting their wealth through rituals, so your humble beginnings should not give you pressure and rush for money without knowing the genesis. Okay. You can't control what other people do, but you can control what you do. It's a dangerous world out there, even for men. Be safe, don't let your guard down. Okay, thank you for that. Konoin from Bomet County, I fully support men stop killing women and avoid jealousy. All right, Ngahu, you're saying I sympathize with the situation, but honestly, going to visit a stranger is like crossing Mombasa Road blindfolded. God help this generation. Hey, that example though. Ladies should learn to be financially independent and be contented with what they have. That's also a thought from one of our viewers there. All right.
I think
In the body
You saw.
everyone is like, eh. All right, let's tumalize hii kitu.
I think the thing of the 100 shillings,
Yeah.
it's
They
an
want
insult.
us with the broke niggas.
It's an insult because there are also people who bring home 100 shillings and they're still abusive.
Oh.
We wouldn't be having...
Badala kupiga.
Kwanza hao ndio wao.
If you would look at those statistics, I mean, there's violence even in the slums. There's violence even in the village. This is nothing to do with somebody's financial level.
All right.
This is just about how somebody is wired. Because again, we cannot blame women for wanting to have men who can take care of themselves. We can. There's nothing wrong with that. The problem is not the money or the lack of money. The problem is this person's
A person
fabric.
has a problem,
Yes.
and that is what we need to deal with. Tumalize hii kitu. 30 seconds, Roberta.
Madam, hata sitaki ku-advise women juu. Hata niwaambie nini anymore. Men, just stop killing women.
Okay.
So someone say, tuache kuwaita murderers, but like I said, please don't approach this conversation from a gender war perspective. I'm not...
Thank you.
Like, yeah, sina kitu ingine kusema.
Oh, nimeambiwa tani.
Bila shida, iko sawa.
We end it there. Thank you so much for creating time for this very deep and heavy conversation. And we're just calling it out for what it is. It is murder, it is a crime, and it has to stop. My name is Safina Cheng Oma. It's been a pleasure to do this for you. Once again, let's meet tomorrow bright and early for another episode of Daybreak. For now, it's a wrap. Have a lovely day ahead.